Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning on this happy Sunday. I hope everybody is doing as well as I'm doing today, guys. Listen, we're not going to be real long today, okay? Hey, Triggs, I appreciate you being in the building. Everybody else that's coming in, you guys can share this in the backyards, and that way everybody kind of knows that we are live today, okay? I don't plan on being very long this morning, but I gotta humor this bitch, okay? I absolutely gotta humor this hoe, okay? Because listen, last night, I was chilling, okay? And I decided to go ahead and listen to everybody and listen to everything and just enjoy, everybody's shit and everything else. And, I heard Carrie talking a little bit at first about this thing, and I really have been looking for her to answer me from the conversation that I had with her the other day on Slander God's show, right? So, for those of y'all that don't know, Carrie and I had this conversation the other day on Slander God's show, and it was in regards to her medical history, okay? Because again, Carrie has been claiming that I'm lying about her medical history, okay? And so I specifically asked her that day to humor me, right? If I'm lying or if I'm wrong about what I read about your medical records, please explain to us where I'm wrong, right? And so I've been waiting for Carrie to kind of like break down that whole thing, kind of pull up her medical record again and show why she had these particular tests altogether, right? And so I waited for her to do that. But instead, what I got, and again, I fell asleep last night, so I wasn't able to like stay up and see whether or not she was going to talk about this or not, right? And again, I don't really want to be stalking her page per se to kind of see. So I want to just kind of see about it. So I subscribed and said, let me go ahead and whenever she goes and does a video on this, I'll be able to get this message. Well, sure enough, guys, when you ask for something, you motherfucking get it, okay? So I get up this morning. Y'all know I get up pretty early, and I had the notification that Carrie had went live talking about a swinger and a cam girl, and I was like, yes, this is the video that I need, right? So I was waiting on her to start talking about, and pulling up her HIV prep um, storyline that she's been telling everybody about. And sure enough, that's what she did. Okay. So we're going to get into that and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to break that down. And then we're going to also break down what what the reason was where and why I came to this conclusion. And then we'll reset the clock again for Carrie Ann. Because again, like she's saying, she's saying I'm lying about it. We're all lying. Okay, so we're going to see today whether we're lying. But shout out to the Knicks. Let's start with that, okay? Shout out to the New York Knicks. I'm going to tell y'all, I have not been an NBA fan since Kobe Bryant, okay? Since Kobe Bryant passed away, I have not really been an NBA fan. I am not very much into it like that. I know that he wasn't really playing at the point, but at that time, I was still a Lakers fan, okay? It's not that I'm not necessarily don't like the NBA. It's just I feel like this shit is rigged. Okay, I'll be honest with y'all. I feel like the NBA is rigged, just like the NFL. Okay, I've been a Dallas Cowboys fan since I can remember, and I'm still a Cowboys fan, but I don't watch the games as much as I used to watch them because I honestly feel like they're rigged. Okay, I feel like the whole thing is planned from the beginning. I think they know who's going to win from the beginning, and it is what it is. Okay, that's a conspiracy that I got, but hey, that's how I feel about it. Okay, I don't know about the major baseball though, right? I'm assuming that would probably be the same issue with that, right? My brother used to watch Major League Baseball, but I would fall asleep when he was watching that shit. Me and him only had one TV at times in our lives together. So, well, one of us will watch something and the other will watch something. And if he was watching baseball, I knew it was going to be hours and hours of that shit. And I would just fall asleep, and just wait till that shit's over. But as far as football and stuff like that, I absolutely was into it. I watched that. All the women in the family were into football. My mother, my grandmother, they're both Eagles fans, right? Shout out to my grandma, rest in peace to her. My mom is a diehard Eagles fan. The whole family are Eagles fans. I wanted to be different, okay? I was not going to be like them. So, I had to be different. So I decided to be a Cowboys fan. And it worked out for many years. I don't know. Now I don't know what's going on. But I still fuck with my Cowboys. But I don't, like I said, I'm not into the games as much as I used to because it just pisses me off, right? And I honestly do feel like it is rigged. I know what y'all Eagles fans are going to say, okay? Yeah, of course I think it's rigged because y'all Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple times. And, us Cowboys, we haven't won a Super Bowl in years. I get it, okay? I still think this shit is fucking rigged. I don't give a fuck who's winning, who's on the field, or any of that. Okay, but anyway, that's just how I feel about it. But I was always into college basketball. That was really the thing for me back in the day was college basketball, right? That was bigger to me than the NBA was. And I don't know if that's rigged. I think that's real, honestly. I think there's a lot of recruiters involved in that. I think that there's a lot involved in getting these men into the NFL, right? But I don't know if that's per se rigged as the NFL is. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake in the NFL. There's a lot of money that they put into these games, into these basketball games too, right? And I just have a hard time believing that. No, I'm sorry, I said I'm flicking the two, but anyway, y'all know what I mean. Putting the NFL, putting them into from college football into the NFL, and putting them from college basketball into the NBA. Okay, yeah, I don't know if college games are rigged as much as the NBA and the NFL is. But I definitely think that the NBA and the NFL is rigged. I think they know who's going to win. I think it's all a money game. I think whoever has the most money and puts up the most stakes will be able to be in whatever that ring is of who wins. Okay, now I don't know if the team players know that. I don't know if all the coaches are involved in that, but I definitely think the owners are involved, and that's just my theory. And that's what I think. And I don't care if y'all believe me or agree with me or not. But anyway, and sorry for ruining it for y'all. But yeah, I definitely think that that shit is fucking rigged. And like I said, they make money off of it too, and even other ways. Like they've always made good money off of these programs, but particularly now they're making money off of the states that they allow sports betting to happen. I think that's everywhere now. That they allow the sports betting to happen, and people are betting on this shit, and they buying the tickets and everything, and that's a big deal. That's a big money deal. So that's as big as the marijuana game nowadays, right? So like I said, I just think that the powers that be have a reason to have these types of programs rigged, and so that's my thoughts on that. But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this bitch because, child, listen, I really don't understand it, right? I'm not sure what it is that Carrie is trying to accomplish with me when it comes to this whole situation. But again, I remember and recall wanting to block Carrie Ann and not wanting anything to do with Carrie Ann. That's what I recall doing, right? I recall wanting to move on and just move on and not even speak of her or anything, right? But she decided to come to the sector and talk this craziness and say this craziness and say stuff about, her being some victim of things and being mistreated behind the scenes, and that, we were coming at her. I was coming at her over Triggs, and I was trying to make her not speak about Ray Triggs and all this other weird shit, right? At the end of the day, I left all that alone. What I had a problem with was Carrie coming out here telling y'all that I have all these problems in life, that I have all these sexually transmitted diseases. I'm not sure how a stranger would know something like that, right? But it doesn't matter. These are things that she has tried to tell the sector, right? For sensationalism, for trying to get attention, trying to get everybody to be on her side of agreement of whatever that would be, right? Considering the fact that I wasn't even talking about her. But ultimately, this everybody saw over the time, and over a period of time that she started desperately showing her medical history to the sector. Okay, and when she showed her medical history, the first thing that she did was show us multiple STD screenings that she had in multiple years, okay? Which is not normal behavior. Everybody knows this. I think we know already that it's not normal for a person, especially a person who claims to be celibate, to be getting multiple STD tests every single time they go to a doctor, right? I think that is craziness. I think that's nuts. But in her mind, she thinks that she can manipulate the sector into believing that somehow this is normal behavior. Okay. So, and I'll get to y'all comments in a second, y'all. I do see y'all. I just want to get this off my chest and then I will talk to y'all. Okay. But ultimately, she does think that, talking about, her sexual history and showing you guys her medical history, her lab results and, well, not results, but her lab tests, right? Over a 15-20 year period is somehow proving to you guys that she's a celibate woman, right? And that she's, this holier than thou woman. I really don't even understand why she wants to do that in the first place, but it doesn't matter, right? The point is that that's what she's doing. And, she's doing this in the attempt to get me to get into this same type of competition with her to prove to strangers that I'm this wholesome, virtuous woman. I don't really give a fuck what you niggas think, honestly, about my coochie. Honestly, I don't care what y'all think about this because I ain't fucking none of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know why I would need to explain that to y'all, right? But either way, in her mind, she has twisted this story into somehow this competitive competition between me and her to prove to strangers that one of us is better than the other, right? Which, again, like I said, I have no interest in doing that with Carrie Ann. I really don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what y'all think about the coochie, what y'all believe about it. You're welcome to believe what you want to believe, right? You're welcome to think I have multiple STDs and all that stuff. Here's the thing, though. I've never shown anything like that to anybody. I've never said anything like that to anybody. So, if that's what you want to believe, that comes from your own common opinion or your own opinion. That doesn't come from something you've seen or something that you've derived from something that you've actually seen me show you or seen me say to you, right? That's just something that you came up with because whatever reason you came up with it, and you're entitled to do that, right? I have opinions about people around here. They're not very popular opinions, right? And but my opinions generally come from things that I've seen about you or things that I've heard about you that I've witnessed myself, right? And it takes a lot for me to actually come to conclusions about people. Everybody, you can't just come to me and say something about somebody because you don't like them and you expect me to go along with it. I'm not that kind of person. I'm going to go with what I believe about that person. And until you show me opposite and you show me a reason not to fuck with you, generally I'm not going to be the kind of person to, just go with the crowd of what people say, right? I usually will do my own research on things. I will come to my own conclusions. This is why I came to the conclusion that I came to about Kip, because I was able to see for myself what, what the evidence was, okay? It's not my job to prove to everybody else what the evidence was. And again, I don't really care if you don't like that, right? I don't care about that. It's your job to do your own research, just like I did my own research after the evidence was presented to me. Okay? So once the evidence was presented to you, you should do your own research on that, not me showing and proving and acting. And for what? I don't have to do that. First of all, I didn't present the story. Second of all, it's not my story to tell. Okay, but when I looked at it, that's what the evidence, the evidence showed, and that's the conclusion I came to. You know, you're entitled to come to whatever conclusion you want to. But either way, the point that I'm trying to make about that is that, Carrie Ann has been making the point to tell everybody that I'm this god awful person who has all these diseases and all these issues with drugs, multiple drugs. I mean, and she was naming drugs, cocaine and Xanax and all this other crazy shit. Child, I ain't did nothing but smoke some fucking weed, okay? Like, I'm about to light that shit up right now. But anyway, I'm just saying that's the it. But either way, I'm not sure what um, you know, why she would be saying stuff like this, and other than trying to get attention and trying to um, just just throw her anger out of me not wanting anything to do with her because she literally cannot take rejection. Okay. And that's clear, not just from me, but even other people that have known her personally and have spoken of it and have shared their emails with us about Carrie's past behavior on this stuff. So I thought it was funny because I said, well, let's go ahead and look at this, right? Because I wanted to see what her answers were and what she was trying to say in regards to this HIV quantitative test and the HLA B5701 typing test that she had shown us. Okay, so I'm going to share first. Before I do that, I want to share first um, where Carrie Ann had shown us her HLA B5701 typing test. Okay, because that was the test itself that we had questioned. Okay, and I'm gonna move myself out the way. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, so that was the test that we had questioned was the HLA B5701 typing. Okay, it wasn't anything else in regards to that. It was the four tests that she had that day. Actually, it was five tests that she had, but we only showed like four of them. Okay, on this screen. So it was the HIV RT PCR test. Let me make sure I have this big enough for y'all to see. Yeah, that's as big as it's going to get. It was the HIV quantitative RT PCR test. Now, what I told her and what I said at the time was that if she had only showed the HIV quantitative RT PCR test, she would have got away with this, right? But it was the fact that she showed all of these tests ordered together by Dr. Singh on the same day why this is questionable and why it looks like she has HIV. Okay. Now she claims that she had, and I'm going to show you guys what she claimed. I want to share this tab with y'all instead, real quick. So on her show last night, she shared that she had this email between herself and her provider, quote unquote. Okay. Which, like I said, I can easily pick up over the years that I pick up on certain cues on documents and stuff like this that tell me that a document is either altered or forged. Okay, so for this particular document, it looks forged to me. I can't say it is or not, but it looks that way to me, and I'm going to explain why it looks that way. And let me make sure you guys can hear me first. Okay, you guys can hear me. And shout out to y'all. Oh, I'm breaking up. Am I still breaking up? Put a one in the chat if you guys can hear me and let me know that I'm not breaking up anymore. Sometimes you will break up though if you change screens, just to let you guys know that. So if I'm changing a screen, you might hear it break up a little bit. And then if I come back to the chat and I see you're breaking up, it might be I still think I'm doing that, right? So okay. All right. Thank you, Bernice. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm glad you guys can hear me. Let me go back over here to what Carrie was showing us. And I want to get out of the way because I don't want it to Um, what the hell? Where is my mouse? Okay, here it is. I don't want it to look like I'm on the screen. As you guys can see, Carrie Ann is on this screen. Okay. So I'm going to do my best to try to read this to y'all because this is kind of hard to read. But again, I'm going to share a couple of points on this particular one. So the first thing I want to say is that anybody can email themselves anything. Okay. I can email myself a copy of anything and then I could, uh, post that. I can take a screenshot of it and post that to anybody. Okay. That is the first thing I want to say. The second thing is this again looks like it's not very professional. Okay, there are particular things and grammar errors in here that don't make sense for a primary care doctor to provide. The third thing that doesn't make sense is why would they put on here primary care provider and then name and then they have PA, which is a physician's assistant, and then so forth on there. Okay. The fifth or fourth thing, I don't know what part I'm on now, that I wanted to point out is that if they are a physician's assistant, generally they would have the same access to your medical history that is provided to the office. So if you didn't see this PA or this office in 2015, they very well may not be aware of everything that's on your previous medical history. They can only go by what you tell them. Okay, now I just wanted to say that. But again, I wanted to make this clear that this looks weird to me. The other part that I wanted to point out that I'm going to read here is what Carrie wrote in her message. She said, and this was just what, 2 days ago or 3 days ago that she claimed that she wrote this message. Hello, I was looking at my medical records and I saw that I got this HIV quantitative RT PCR test back in 2015. I looked it up because it looked different from any other HIV test, and I was freaked out when HIV.gov opens in new tab said that the test is only for people who have HIV and are on retroviral drugs. I was trying to take PrEP back then, but the website says that the test isn't used for PrEP, only for people on actual retroviral meds. Like I know I don't have HIV, but I'm concerned if I ever want to show my records to a potential partner, they would look up what the test means. What can I tell them? How can I explain why I took the test, right? And again, she only showed a screenshot of this. It's not like she did when she opened her medical records in front of everybody. She went directly to the medical records and opened them and showed us directly what was on there. She didn't do that with this email. She showed us a screenshot of this. Okay? So, what this alleged primary care physician's assistant came back and said is, Miss, on June 12th at 10:49 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the methods, notice where the is not even capitalized, okay? The methods and tests developed to screen for illnesses, including HIV, change over time, right? Okay. There are 3 available HIV test results for me to review in your chart, dating to 2023, and all 3 are negative. Period. Period. Why would they put period, period there? Okay. And then they said, we can update it if you'd like. Update what? Right? That should be sufficient explanation to anyone. Huh? Regarding your other message for, and then she just blanked that out, which I'm sure it was regarding the whole PrEP questioning, right? Because first of all, the medications that you're on your medical history don't add up to them being PrEP medications, right? The second thing is there are 3 available HIV test results for me to review in your chart, for me to review only. in your chart dating to 2023. So we're only back in 2023, according to this primary care provider, this PA, right? We're only talking up to 2023, and there are only three available HIV test results for them to review. Keep in mind, you have to get multiple HIV. We've seen already that you've had more than three HIV tests since 2023. So it's clear that you're going to more than one provider. I just want to say that. Okay? Now, because we've already seen your medical history according to you, and I can pull that up again, where we have counted multiple HIV screenings since 2023. But all of them have been negative. Why, Carrie? The reason why anybody who takes antiretroviral drugs is negative, has a negative antigen antibody HIV test, that is the purpose of the antiretroviral drugs, is to make sure that you are coming up negative, Carrie Ann. So again, I'm not sure why you think you are going to alter things and dangerously tell the sector that somehow this means that you're not HIV positive or that you never had HIV, right? Because right now you should be HIV negative if you're taking your actual drugs. You should be, right? So again, I'm not sure why you're trying to manipulate the sector into believing somehow that it means that you are still, that you've never been diagnosed with HIV. So then you continue to go on with this, right? You continue to move on with this. I want to show you where you did that. Okay. Let me go on to this part, right? Where you showed this email and then you showed what they said about that, right? And how you kept doing that. But then you did show the AI overview of was the test used in 2015 to screen for PrEP, right? And again, this is where you are manipulating AI for it to say what you want it to say, right? So I want to share with y'all what I asked AI, okay? Let me share this tab because, again, this is what you shared and you asked AI, right, about PrEP medication, right? Because what you want everybody to believe, Carrie Ann, is that the reason why you got this HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, right, is because you were taking PrEP medication, which could in fact be true at the time. This is the reason why I said in that video, had you only showed us, right? Let me share it with you again. Had you only showed us just the HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, you would have been fine. Because, yeah, you could have possibly gotten that for PrEP medication. What you failed to do yesterday on your video, or this morning, I don't know when you did it, what you failed to do in this video, Carrie, and I'm not going to play it because I don't want you to strike me, okay? But what you failed to do in this video is look up why a clinician would give you an HLA B5701 typing test along with the HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, right? Because that's what they did. They gave you all of these tests on the same day at the same damn time. Look at it. October 20th, 2015 at 3:50 p.m. Ordered by Sulani P. Singh, your HIV quantitative RT-PCR test. A HAVAB total was also ordered on October 20th, 2015 at 3:49 p.m. ordered by Sulani Singh, right? An HLA B5701 typing 19774 was ordered on October 20th, 2015 at 3:49 p.m., ordered by Sulani Singh. And then you had a Tox AB IgG IgM 8636 test, also ordered on October 20th, 2015 at 3:49 p.m., ordered by Sulani Singh, Carrie. So if only you look up with AI, right? Because we're about to do that. I'm about to show you how that could be done, right? If only you look up with AI, why would my doctor give me a HIV quant RT PCR test while I am starting prep in 2015, right? Because I'm gonna show you how that could be altered, right? Let's share this tab because it's gonna look similar to what Carrie Ann said. Doctors order an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, a viral load test, before starting PrEP to detect acute HIV infection. It identifies the virus in the blood as early as 10 to 12 days after exposure, whereas standard antibody tests require a much longer window to become reactive. Healthcare providers do this for several specific reasons. Preventing drug resistance, PrEP medications like Truvada or Descovy is not a full HIV treatment regimen. If you have an acute HIV infection and start PrEP without knowing it, the virus can quickly build a severe resistance to the medication, severely limiting your future treatment options. The window period. If you were exposed to HIV very recently, standard rapid or antibody antigen tests might not show the infection yet. The PCR test looked directly for the genetic material of the virus, RNA. Okay, this is why they would give a PCR test because it looks directly for the genetic viral RNA. Okay, bypassing the wait for the body to create antibodies. Recent use. If you were using PrEP previously or taking PrEP post exposure prophylaxis, standard tests can sometimes be unreliable. The RNA test confirms you are definitively negative before resuming or changing your prescription. Okay? Keep in mind these are AIDS map here. This is from up to date and AIDS map. This is also from LabCorp themselves and National HIV PrEP curriculum. Okay. Now, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention outlined specific clinical guidelines for PrEP regarding exactly when RNA testing is necessary. Generally, it is strongly recommended if you have had a high risk exposure in prior 4 weeks, have experienced symptoms consistent with acute HIV, or are restarting PrEP. If you are curious to know about more about the testing protocol, feel free to share. Were you taking any PEP or PrEP medications previously? Were you experiencing any flu-like symptoms during your initial screening? Okay, and so forth. So these are the sites that you can go to get this information regarding if you were to take an HIV quantitative RT PCR test, which is a viral load test, before starting PrEP medications. Okay? Now, what you didn't do was ask AI, right, why a doctor would order both of these tests together on the same day, right? Because we got to keep in mind, Carrie, that this, in fact, is why we're asking this question, right? Because on the medical history that you showed us all of these tests together, ordered on a baseline panel, okay? So by the same doctor at the same time, okay? So what we wanted to do for you, right, since you were so unaware of why you would get these two tests together if you're taking PrEP medication, I asked for you. Okay? And since you did AI, I'm going to do AI too. Okay? So would a specialist order an HIV quantitative RT PCR test and an HLA B5701 typing test for a patient who is starting PrEP in 2015? Now, Carrie, let's look at your medical records again. All right? We got your HIV quantitative RT-PCR test ordered by your doctor. We got a HAVAP total ordered by your doctor. We have an HLA B5701 typing test ordered by your doctor. And we have a Tox AB IgG IgM test ordered by your doctor. Right? You see it. I see it. Y'all see it? Okay. Let's go. So, no. An HIV specialist would not order an HLA B5701 typing test for a patient starting PrEP in 2015, though they might order the HIV quantitative RT-PCR test under specific circumstances. So remember, Carrie, you've been telling the sector that you've been this wholesome celibate woman who hasn't had sex with dildos, dogs, cats, nothing in years, okay? And so there would be no reason for you to get an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test if you had no exposure to possible HIV prior to you starting that PrEP medication. But what really, really is the kicker, Carrie, right? What really is the kicker, Carrie, for you? Hold on, let me make sure I'm still sharing. I don't know what happened. Sorry, y'all. Let me share again. Let me share again. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Okay. So, what really was the kicker, Carrie, is you sharing all of these tests with us, right? Because on here it shows, and I hope you guys can see this, on here it shows, no, an HIV specialist would not order an HLA B5701 typing test for a patient starting PrEP in 2015, though they might order an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test under specific circumstances, meaning that if you were high risk, right, you were fucking everybody, you were fucking multiple partners, you were having sex with multiple people, and you don't know who could have been giving you what or why or how, right? Somebody who fucks around with Craigslist, right, bitch? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You would not have known how you would have gotten something. And so therefore, when you went, obviously, like you claim to the sector, you want us to believe, right? You want us to believe you went to your doctor to get PrEP medication, right? And they had to give you this HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, right? They had to give you that, right? That's on your medical records. But why did they give you, and this is what I asked you the other day, why did they give you this HLA B5701 typing test if you were only getting this for PrEP? Because according to HIV.gov, right? Let me go here again. According to New York State Department of Health.gov and HIV.gov and the Veterans Association and so forth and the CDC, see, we got all of these links here. Okay? No, an HIV specialist would not order an HLA B5701 typing test for a patient starting PrEP in 2015, though they might order an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test under specific circumstances. The standard of care for HIV pre-exposure prophylaxis PrEP in 2015 was oral daily Truvada, right? Tenofovir, Dispravil, Fumarate, whatever that shit is. Neither of these medications requires genetic testing, Carrie Ann. The two tests serve completely different purposes in clinical protocols, Carrie. Okay? So an HLA B5701 typing test, not ordered, right? The purpose of this test, Carrie, is this is a genetic test screen that screens for an LA strongly linked to a life-threatening hypersensitivity allergic reaction to abacavir, a completely different HIV medication. Let's look at it. See, I just highlighted that for you. The purpose of an HLA B5701 typing test, Carrie, okay, is this is a genetic test screen for an LA strongly linked to a life-threatening hypersensitivity allergic reaction to abacavir, a completely different HIV medication, Carrie Ann. So, again, this is what you should be asking your primary care doctor, since you don't understand why you're allowing, labs to take blood from you and you don't know what they're testing you for, right? You're just running around going to the lab, going to LabCorp, going to wherever you're going, and they just pulling blood and they just poking you with needles and pulling your blood, and you don't even know what the reason is that they're doing it, according to you. Okay? So you should be asking your doctor why they gave you this HIV quantitative PCR test along with this HLA B5701 typing test if it was for PrEP medication. Because again, HLA B5701 typing tests have nothing to do with PrEP medication. They have everything to do with actual HIV regimens, actual HIV treatment, Carrie Ann. Okay? According to the CDC, right? According to the CDC, according to the Veterans Association, according to the HIV.gov, okay? See, we here on the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, okay? HIV.gov, why these are happening, okay? This is a viral load test. Let's go into, I'm sorry. Let me do this. Why it is not ordered for PrEP, right? Because again, you wanted us to believe that the reason why you're getting this is for PrEP, okay? Abacavir has never been approved or used as a PrEP drug. It is only used to treat established HIV infections. Because a patient starting PrEP is explicitly HIV negative and taking Truvada, there is absolutely no reason to screen for abacavir sensitivity, Carrie Ann. Okay? See, that's why I said if you had only showed us the HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, you would have got away with that. But it's the fact that you showed us all four of these tests together on the same day, ordered by the same specialist at the same time, is why we are saying you do, in fact, and you were, in fact, diagnosed with HIV at some point in your life, because there's no reason for them to have given you this particular test if you weren't actually HIV positive, Carrie. This is what I said, okay? This ain't what I said. This is what HIV.gov is saying. This is what the CDC is saying, okay? This is what the VA is saying. This is what they are saying about your medical records that you showed to the sector, right? These are what you showed to the sector, not me. I didn't make this up. I didn't add this to your medical history. I don't work for the VA. I don't even know Dr. Singh. Never seen Dr. Singh. I ain't never had an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test. Never in my life. I have never had an HLA B5701 typing test. Never in my life. But I know I actually did speak to somebody who has HIV, and I asked them about this, and they said they remembered something similar, but they didn't quite remember exactly what it was. But they did remember having some type of testing done over the medication that they were taking. But for you, it was this specific test that they wanted to give you because they wanted to give you that specific medication, which is abacavir, Carrie Ann. Okay? So, again, Nobody's lying on you. Nobody's making any of this up, Carrie. Okay? Now, let's ask another question because, again, like I said, you can alter shit and make shit what you want it to be according to what you said here, right? Because you said here, doctors order the quantitative RT-PCR test for PrEP, and that could be true. But it doesn't make sense when it comes to this HLA B5701 typing test because abacavir is not a PrEP medication. It is not approved to be used as a PrEP medication. So they would not be giving you a test that is only ordered for abacavir itself. If and that's the only reason they would give you this test. There's no other reason they would give you this test. They would only give this to you for that. Okay? Then, and that's what I asked you. I said, so tell us why, if we're wrong and the CDC is wrong and HIV.gov is wrong and your doctor is wrong and everybody's wrong, then explain to us why you went to LabCorp, right? Why you went to the lab and you allowed them to pull your blood for an LA gene test and you didn't know why you were getting it. Why? That you're telling me that the reason that you asked for this test? Did you ask for this test because of your quote unquote hypochondriacism or whatever, right? Because you're such a hypochondriac and you're so worried about your health, right? That only your insurance company would be willing to pay for random STD tests and random testing of your genes and all these other things for no reason? You mean to tell me that only you, Carrie, in this world that has insurance, right, can go and have your doctor just paying for random lab tests for you for no fucking reason at all? They're not going to give you abacavir because that's the only reason they'd be giving you the HLA B5701 typing test. They're not giving you abacavir. They're just doing this for prevention purposes. Just in case one day in your life, 20 years from now, you might need abacavir. So they want to see whether or not you really want us to believe, Carrie, that that's what your doctor is doing. I don't believe you. You need more people, okay? I do not believe you, Carrie, okay? No, ma'am. The reason why you got all of these tests together is because this is a baseline screening of of um why of you getting HIV. I'm going to share that with you, Carrie Ann, okay? Because what I asked was, why would a specialist order an HIV quantitative test, an HLA B5701 typing test, a Tox AB AG test, a HAVAP total, all at the same time on the same day? Because remember, you had all of these tests on the same day, right? But you only wanted to ask this one question. You only wanted to ask this one question, right? But you didn't get deep into what you actually shared with the sector, right? So let's get into it, Carrie, since you want to do AI mode asking questions. A specialist ordered this specific combination of tests because they are establishing a baseline evaluation for a patient newly diagnosed with HIV or establishing care at the Veterans VA Health System. This is from hiv.va.gov, Carrie Ann. The standard clinical guidelines dictate that before starting let me go ahead and look this up. Hold on, let me light this up. Standard clinical guidelines dictate that before starting antiretroviral therapy, a provider must run a comprehensive panel to measure the virus, assess genetic safety risks, and check for co-infections that could alter the treatment plan. Right, Carrie? Because that's what they ordered for you. They ordered an HIV viral load test, a HAVAB total to check your HAVABs, HLA B5701 typing test, and a toxoplasmosis test. They wanted to, the HAVAB is your liver totals, right? The toxoplasmosis, they wanted to check that. And they keep giving you those tests too, because according to the medical records that you've been showing us for the past 15, 20 years, they keep giving you that, them HAVAB totals and the tox total. They keep doing those things for you because they have to keep checking that to make sure you're not developing any co-infections along with the HIV that you currently have, but you're undetectable because you're taking antiretroviral drugs, right? Right. So let's go over your testing, okay? Because again, this is from National AETC Support Center, okay? Let's go over your testing and why clinicalhiv.gov and what they have to say about this, as well as the CDC. The HIV quantitative test, viral load, the purpose of this one on that test was to measure the exact number of HIV copies per milliliter of blood. Why now? This establishes a baseline. Now let's look this up. This establishes a baseline severity of the infection. It serves as the primary benchmark to ensure the prescribed HIV medications are working in the future. The goal of treatment is to bring this number down to undetectable, Carrie. So the purpose of them checking your viral load is to see how. Let me go back to your records because we have to teach Carrie Ann why she had these tests. Okay, the reason why you had the HIV quantitative test, Carrie Ann, right, is because they wanted to get a primary benchmark to ensure that prescribed HIV medications are working in the future, right? They wanted to make sure that the treatment that they are putting you on is bringing this number down to undetectable, okay? That is according to, again, hiv.gov, okay? You can go yourself to this link, okay? The HLA B57 typing test was ordered on that same day. The purpose is to screen for specific genetic marker linked to a severe, life-threatening allergic reaction to abacavir, a common medication used in HIV treatment regimens. Again, this is from hiv.gov. Okay, Carrie Ann? So let's look. You had those two tests ordered on the same day, right? Let's go again. Why now? The VA requires this genetic screening before any patient is prescribed abacavir. If the patient tests positive for the HLA B5701 LA, the specialist will flag it as a drug allergy and completely avoid this drug. Again, hiv.guidelines.org, Carrie Ann. So, again, if you don't ask AI anything about why you had this testing done, right? Why they took your blood for an HLA B5701 typing test, right? If you don't ask AI that question and ask why you had that test along with an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test, of course you're going to get an answer like what you tried to manipulate to the sector, right? Of course you're going to get an answer if you add PrEP in there with only the HIV quantitative test, right? What's actually in your medical records, according to you, right, which is the quantitative test and the HLA B5701 typing test together, along with these other tests, that gives you what this says from hiv.gov and from the Center for Disease Control and from the VA. That's what they say about this, right? They wanted to check for toxoplasmosis. The purpose, it checks if the patient has ever been exposed to Toxoplasma gondii, a parasite commonly carried by cats and found in undercooked meat. Why now? In patients with compromised immune systems, a latent dormant toxoplasmosis infection can reactivate and cause a severe brain infection called toxoplasmic encephalitis. Knowing the patient's antibody status tells the specialist whether preventative antibiotics prophylaxis are needed. And then the HAVAB total, right? Why you got all this done? HAVAB total, the purpose detects antibodies for the hepatitis A virus to see if the patient has immunity, either from a past infection or prior vaccination. Why now? The liver health is critical because HIV medications are processed by the liver. If the patient lacks immunity, the test is negative. The specialist will immediately order the hepatitis A vaccine series to protect the liver from future infections. So, let's read what the National Center for Disease Control and HIV.gov says about why you got all of these tests on the same day. Efficiency and safety are key. The specialist is bundling these lab tests together to avoid multiple needle sticks and, more importantly, to gather all necessary data rapidly. This allows them to safely select and initiate the optimal HIV medication regimen without delay. This says nothing about PrEP. Now, I want to ask this same question, right? While we're looking at your medical history, right? Let's share that. I want to ask this same question, and I want to say, would this be used for PrEP? And I'm going to share it with my tab with you guys. So I asked the same exact question. The only thing I added to that question, I'm going to share this with you guys. Why would a specialist order an HIV quantitative test, an HLA B typing test, a Tox AB AG test, a HAVAB total at the same time on the same day for the same patient at the VA? Would this be used for PrEP, right? These tests are not used for a routine PrEP prophylactic screening. Instead, this specific combination strongly indicates that a specialist is diagnosing and staging a new HIV infection or managing a patient who is already living with HIV, Carrie-Ann. Okay? This is coming from the National Institutes of Health.gov. Not TPRE, not Raw B, not Ray Triggs, not anybody in the sector, not the handmaidens. This is from the National Institutes of Health.gov and what they are saying about your medical records. Okay? And why your doctor ordered this. It had nothing to do with PrEP. And let's go ahead and look why it had nothing to do with PrEP. Okay? What these tests mean together. Okay? HIV quantitative, we're going to go over this until you understand, Carrie, why your medical, you keep claiming you don't understand. You said that the other day. You don't know why your doctor ordered this HLA B5701 typing test for you in 2015. Okay? So we're here to educate you today, again, on why. Okay? These tests, what these tests mean together. HIV quantitative viral load measures exactly how much HIV RNA is in the blood. While it can detect the virus very early in infection, specialists mostly use it to monitor how well antiretroviral therapy ART is working and to see if the patient's viral load is fully suppressed. Medlineplus.gov, okay? HLA B5701 typing, a genetic test used to check if a patient carries a specific gene variation that causes severe hypersensitivity reactions to the HIV medication abacavir. Knowing this status helps doctors safely prescribe HIV treatment without risking a dangerous drug reaction. This is from the National Institutes of Health.gov, Carrie. Okay? The first one was from Medline Plus. Now we've got National Institutes of Health.gov. Tox ABAG toxoplasmosis Antibodies, antigens, checks for past or present infection with toxoplasmosis gondii parasite. In patients with HIV, a weakened immune system can allow latent toxoplasmosis to reactivate and cause dangerous infections in the brain. National Institutes of Health.gov, Carrie Ann says this. And the HAVBAB total test antibodies. Checks if the patient has antibodies from a previous infection or vaccine to the hepatitis A virus. It determines if the patient is immune or needs a vaccine. And that's from Medical News Today. Okay. Would this be used for PrEP? Okay, we're going to get into that now, Carrie Ann, because you're saying we all lying and everybody's making this up and your pussy's so good and all this other weird shit. Would this be used for PrEP medication, Carrie? No. While PrEP, Descovy, or Truvada requires an initial lab work to ensure the patient is HIV negative, has healthy kidneys, and is free of hepatitis B, the tests you listed go far beyond PrEP screening. So, Carrie, I didn't list these tests, right? Dr. Singh listed these tests, not me, okay? Dr. Singh listed all of these tests on your medical records, okay? So, again, no. While PrEP would not be used for this, okay? It says these tests are heavily focused on genetic compatibility for HIV medications, HLA, viral activity, quantitative, and assessing vulnerability to specific opportunistic infections. This is from medlineplus.gov, okay? Because the Department of Veterans Affairs has specific clinical protocols for managing HIV, this panel is typically ordered when a patient first tests positive for HIV or is preparing to start a highly tailored lifelong treatment regimen. Carrie Ann. Okay? So nobody made up anything about your medical history. Nobody made up anything about what this means. Nobody made up anything about how this goes and why this goes this way. All we said to you is, okay, if HIV.gov is lying, if Medline Plus is lying, if CDC and the VA and Dr. Singh are all lying about your medical history, how hard is it to show us why you showed us this medical history containing all this baseline panel? Why? Explain it to us. You are so willing to go into AI. You're so willing to show us what you're saying, what's going on. You want to show us evidence of alleged emails that aren't even typed correctly, that aren't even spelled right. They're telling you they have no idea what's going on past 2023, right? And everything else. They told you all of that, right? You want us to see all that, but you keep skipping over. You keep skipping over this one test that's, well, all of these tests together, right? So I did it for you. I did it for you. I shared for you why your doctor would order all of these tests together and what the National Institute of Health.gov has to say about this and why they don't use this for PrEP medications, okay? Why they would not be using what you shared with us about your medical records, why they would not be using that for PrEP, why they are in fact using this to start an HIV regimen for someone, whether it's someone who was newly diagnosed with HIV or someone who is starting a new lifelong treatment, Carrie. So you should ask those questions, right? Instead of asking, these other questions, you should be asking why they took your blood for this, right? Why they tested your blood. Because you didn't have to allow LabCorp or whoever you went to pull your blood. You allowed them to pull your blood and test you for these things. And you mean to tell me you're willing to go over these tests with the sector, but you're not willing to understand why you're being given that shit? Yeah. Anywho, let me go ahead and get into y'all comments, and then we're going to go ahead and end this. Because, like I said, I really don't want to be all day with this bullshit. But, child, you tripping. What's up, P and beautiful Bernice? I think I said hi to you already. You said, Bernice, I seen that, and I said, poor Bugsy, I know he's pissed. Oh, shit, I must have missed something. Let me go up here. Oh, damn, I'm missing a lot of comments. All right, hold on, y'all. Okay. All right. So I know I talked to Triggs and P. Hey, TMK, I appreciate you being in the building. You said T Pre. As for the rest of you, I find it funny you ALSL can't get up from church but are in the live. Jesus is not happy about this. Child, I was looking at something the other day about why us, some of us chosen ones and the people of God don't go to church, right? And the reasons for it. And it's kind of like we're agitated by churches. I know for me, I'm agitated by the church. There's a lot of stuff going on in the church that bothers me, right? And so I would be disruptive in the church. And so therefore the church is for some people though, right? There are some people that do attend and should attend. But there's some people that really don't need to be there because we would agitate the spirit there. And that's not my intentions, right? So anyway, that's just a little thought. But yeah. Shout out to you though. You said that's a lie. Pre only does weed and perks. Ah! Child, shit. What's up, Spottum? You said regarding your other message for why is all of that redacted? Okay, the reason why it's all redacted is because they're probably like, "What are you talking about? This is not prep that you're on. You're taking actual art regimens, right? You're actually taking HIV regimens. Period." Like, but I can only tell you that these tests were negative. If you want me to like update that, I can do that. What? They were supposed to be negative, Carrie. You are on art regimen, right? You are on an HIV treatment regimen. You should be negative. If you're not negative, it means either the medication is not working or you're not taking it. It's one of the two, right? So you should absolutely have negatives when you're getting HIV antibody tests. Like you should, because your art regimen should be working. Hello, child, it's crazy. Hey, Divine, Queen Divine, I appreciate you being in the building. You said, Triggs, your saga is everything. That shit is lit, man. I ain't gonna hold you, Triggs. I really do fuck with it. I love the AI. And it's funny because it's kind of hard to follow the storyline if you don't really know the sector. You know what I'm saying? So I love how it's tailored to us and it's funny and you got this thing with Raw and she's back home with the family now because she refuses to die, right? And that's kind of Raw's, her story anyway, right? So I love how it's like loosely based around that, and how it involves people that are in our space. So shout out to Triggs for that. That's very creative of him. You said, "Good morning, Seven." You said, "Good morning, beautiful," and P. Child, insane. Okay, insane. You said the lies, the lies, the lies. I don't understand why she thinks she's going to convince us that this stuff is lies. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't. But since she wants to break it down and talk about it, I mean, let's break it down and talk about it. You said she coughs a lot when she's nervous or lying. Yeah, and they finally, that guy allegedly removed the mold from her house. So, you said, and when she hurts too. Uh huh. Uh huh. She done Dr. Singh. I don't know, Dr. Singh. I ain't got shit to do with this. With Dr. Singh. Listen, I ain't got shit to do with whatever Dr. Singh got going on. Okay, I ain't got nothing to do with that, Carrie. Okay, but Dr. Singh said that you had this baseline panel done. I mean, that's what Dr. Singh said. You said that's crazy, P. I'm just saying, right? You said Bernice, she violated her own HIPAA. Period. Like I've been telling her, please, if I'm lying, bitch, take me to court. take me to court. I made it so easy for you. I let you know. You can do your own research, Carrie. I let you know. You don't even have to prove that this damaged your reputation. If I'm lying, you don't have to prove that. You can just go and take me to court, right? And be like, yeah, she's showing this and saying that I have HIV and she's lying. Okay? And they will fucking handle me. But you haven't done that because you know what National Centers for Disease say about it. You know what the CDC says about it, right? You know what Dr. Singh said about it, right? That's the reason why you won't take me to court because you know I'm not lying. You know I'm not making this up. I don't have a reason to. I wasn't even talking about you. But since you want to be showing us your medical records, let's go ahead and look into it. You said, damn. You said, and mad because we can comprehend what we're reading. Exactly. Like she's trying to tell y'all, I'm reading her medical records wrong. I'm reading it incorrectly. Okay, so please show me where I'm reading it wrong, right? How hard is it to be like, no, the reason why they gave me this HLA B5701 typing test, this is why. Let me show you what the doctor said on why I got this test, right? No, you'd rather say, I don't know why they gave it to me. I don't know. Let me go call them and ask them. Let me send them half a message and ask them and tell them I'm getting prep. And see y'all, I asked them that I'm getting prep, but then redacted their answer to you. If that shit's real. I mean, to be quite honest. It looked like Chat GPT to me, but I don't know. Like it could be real, right? But if it is real, it's more damning to you than anything because like I said, that physician's assistant is unaware of any of this stuff from 2015. They were only able to go back to 2023 and they were able to tell you, yeah, you've had, three that I've seen since 2023, right? That were negative. But that doesn't mean that you were never diagnosed with HIV. What are you talking about? Of course, you're negative if you're taking, a regimen, an antiretroviral regimen for HIV treatment. Of course, you should be negative. You said, good morning, YouTube Unfolded. I appreciate you being in the building. You said AAS had her so triggered she done gone and posted poor Bugsy's. She posted Bugsy's medical records now. Like, girl, you really need to have several seats, child. Hey, Lorna Williams, I appreciate you being in the building. Child, this shit is sad, child. It don't make no motherfucking sense, child. It really don't. You said, Bernice, I seen that, and I said, poor Bugsy. I know he pissed. Like, and it's crazy because I looked at this video that I don't know who put it up. I think Photon was playing it, and Anti was trying to show it to him. It was this guy that I've seen. I forgot the guy's name, but it's this dude. He's a really cool bodybuilder type of guy, right? And but I think he's gay. I think he likes men. I forgot what it is. I believe he likes men. So he be like taking showers and crazy shit, right? But he does have these dogs, and he loves his dogs, right? And so she had showed like this combination or this video of the guy with his dog, and then showed Carrie Ann with Bugsy, and how this guy's dog was like clinging to him and loving him and everything. And then she showed Bugsy and how Bugsy looked scared and he looked like he was just wanting to get away from Carrie. Like he didn't know, like he wasn't sure why she was acting like she was at that moment, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And he just kept looking at her like nervously and kept looking around. And when he had the chance to get away from her, he bolted away. I was like, you know what? That is interesting to see, right? Because I never noticed that ever before. But now that I think about it, and if you go through any of her videos, that's kind of how Bugsy acts all the time with Carrie. Like he's almost afraid of her, right? Like, like being with her, he's not sure what she's going to do. Is she going to yell at me? Is she going to, I don't know, right? I'm not there to know whether she's hitting the dog or anything like that. But Carrie is a very angry and explosive person. So if that dog can't talk and tell us what's going on, right? But I can only imagine how that dog is feeling because that dog always seems to be very nervous when he's on camera with Carrie. And she'd be like, "Oh, hi, baby. Oh, like Bugsy," and he'd just be like looking around like he's nervous or like he's like confused, right? But if it was always like that and she was always like, "Oh, hey, oh," he would have been reacting to her that same way. He would have been. That's what dogs do. They're very affectionate with their owners, right? So he would have been licking her. He would have been loving on her the same way, and turning over, waiting for her to rub him. And there's certain things that animals do when you have that connection with them that Carrie doesn't seem to have, but she always, like she does, she wants us to believe things. Everything is for the sector to believe, right? So she does things just for us to see it. And if you don't point it out, you wouldn't notice it. And I do think that that anti was on point with that. So if you pick him up and you're like trying to rub him and forcing this rubs and all this stuff, and he's just like looking at you and trying to look around nervously, and he's not really sure what's going on right now, it does look kind of crazy. So, I don't know, Carrie. I think that Anti's onto something with that for sure. But anyway, child, listen. Everybody's saying hi to each other. You said they sound like football plays, right? HLA, B57, typing HIV quad, long, go, score. You said, hey, P, YouTube unfolded, Lorna and Q7. You said, P, I'm dropping something later. I need your musical review if possible. And you said, okay to Ray. You said, hey to Divine. You said, celibacy, my cute peach ass. There's no way you've been celibate all these years and you're getting all these tests. You're getting all these tests because you were HIV positive at one time and they want to make sure you have no co infections and they want to make sure that you're good. And I do wish you the best, Carrie, honestly. You said, okay, Ray, I'll be fair. You said, hey, Triggs. You said D7. You said, good morning, Trouble Triggs. You said, YouTube Unfolded. Trouble is on the way today. Oh, shit now. Oh, shit now. You said, oh, Triggs, I hate to even ponder on or wonder what you mean. I'm scared. Okay, we don't know what the Triggs about to drop. You said, oh, maybe she paid them to test her. Right, maybe she paid them, right? That's what she did. She went to LabCorp and said, "Here, just test me real quick, so I can prove I ain't got no gene that I need a Bacavir." Like what? You said, "Yeah, YouTube unfolded the sector too quiet. I gotta wake it up again, child." Yeah, I figured I would go live this morning too. You said T Pre. You said, "Hey, I'm no joke. I appreciate you." You said, "Hey T Pre, what's up, chat? I see you cutting up this morning, child. My voice is recuperating. Yeah, all them Knicks fans. Cowboy Raw, I appreciate you, bro, for being in the building." You said, "Good morning to Shakim." Everybody's saying, "Hey to Shakim." Damn. You said once you are diagnosed with HIV, that never goes away. You carry the virus in your cells. Once you are diagnosed, you will always be tested. Stress, weight gain, other meds can change your HIV status. Exactly. And so, therefore, they want to make sure that's the reason, Carrie, why you're constantly getting HIV testing, right? Why you've been getting, you had like 3 or 4 of them last year. You had multiple ones the year before and every other year. It's because well, it could be because you're high risk, right? I don't know. But it also is definitely because at some point you were diagnosed with HIV. Okay, and this is the reason how we know that is because Dr. Singh ordered this HIV baseline panel for you back in 2015, as you can see that you showed us on your medical records. And again, Carrie, again, right? These tests, according to the National Institute for Health.gov, are not for PrEP exposure, okay, or not pre exposure prophylaxis. They are not used for that. They are used as an HIV baseline panel to get you together and make sure that they are making sure that they specifically follow clinical protocols for managing your HIV. And this panel is typically ordered. It's typical to order this when a patient first tests positive for HIV or is preparing to start a highly tailored lifelong treatment regimen, Carrie. Okay? That is according to the CDC, HIV.gov, and everybody else that was looking at that shit. Okay? Nobody's making that shit up about you whatsoever. Lord have mercy, child. You said her poom poom comes with terrorist warnings, okay? I'm just saying, Dr. Singh is singing, okay? You said me five got that heifer on notice. Okay, me got that heifer on notice. You said no, Dr. Singh would not be ordering those tests unless the patient gave him indications of problematic sexual behavior, given the fact that they are taking psychiatric medications. And I wanted to also say that too, right? Because she kept trying to make it sound like, it's because she's a hypochondriac. And make a change, another liar in the sector, right? Who wants y'all to believe he is such a truth teller, another liar in the sector, make a change, wanted to jump on that bandwagon and give her that out to this and say, no, Carrie, it's because you're a hypochondriac. This is the reason why they're giving you all these HIV tests and all these chlamydia tests and all these gonorrhea tests and all these tests is because you're a hypochondriac. It's not because you're high risk. It's not because you have HIV. This is what make a change because he wants y'all to believe he's such a truth teller. This is what he wanted to say, right? And it's funny because no make a change. Again, like I said, no insurance company, any of them, it doesn't matter what line of insurance you have, no insurance company is going to pay for all of these testings for no reason. They're only going to pay for these testings if the patient is showing symptoms of for the need for these tests, or if the patient has told the doctor that they have these symptoms. That is the only way that the insurance company will even pay for them, okay? Because they're going to look for doctor's notes and everything. When a claim comes over to an insurance company, they look at the notes that the doctor put in the medical records and everything for why they have this code on this claim for payment, okay? So they're going to want that doctor wants to get paid. They're not going to be ordering tests that they're not going to get paid for. Okay, make a change. Let me educate you since you are so aware of how claims and insurance goes. Since you all up in Dita Rail's business, right? Let me explain how that works. Make a change, right? So when Dr. Singh sent over the claim, right, to TRICARE, which is Carrie at the time she had TRICARE. When Dr. Singh sent this over to TRICARE for payment, right? TRICARE wanted to see proof of why they wanted to order these tests for her. They were not going to pay for an HLA B5701 typing test and an HIV quantitative RT-PCR test together if the doctor could not explain to them why they were providing these tests. That's something maybe you should know, all right? While you're saying, oh, she's a hypochondriac, so she can just go to the doctor and the doctor's going to keep testing her over and over again for these things. No, no, no. She has to prove it, okay? So, yeah, if maybe in one time she was like, oh, I think I got HIV. I done messed with 20 niggas. I don't know what happened. Can you give me an HIV quantitative test? They might have done that, right? Now I want to get on prep, doctor. So can you make sure, yeah, because last week I slept with this crazy dude and he was, so I want to get on prep because I want to make sure that I'm not, giving anybody anything. I want to make sure I'm not getting anything from anybody. And then the doctor prescribes her the HIV quantitative test, right? But what they're not going to give her is an HLA B5701 typing test because that is for a specific HIV regimen drug. It is not for PrEP. So, again, yeah, right? The doctor would not be ordering those tests, make a change, unless she was giving them indications that she is strongly sexually active all over the place, right? Or that she is, in fact, having symptoms of these diseases, okay? That is the only reason, not because she's a hypochondriac, just so you know, make a change, okay? And I don't know. I think I should try to look that up for y'all because I don't want it to y'all to take my word for it, right? Hold on. We're gonna look this up real quick because one moment. Hold on, y'all. Let me look this up. Okay, let me go ahead and do this. So it says, I said, would an insurance company continue to pay for STD screening for someone who's just a hypochondriac, right? It says insurance companies will generally cover STI, STD screenings if a doctor orders the test and is deemed medically necessary or qualifies as a preventative screening under the Affordable Care Act. However, if testing is purely for peace of mind or self diagnosed anxiety without symptoms or recognized risk factors, insurers may deny the claim. Okay? Coverage specifics depend heavily on how the doctor codes the visit. Okay? Factors determining coverage. Preventative care under the ACA. Many U.S. health plans must fully cover specific STI screenings like HIV and syphilis for sexually active adults and adolescents without copays or deductibles. Okay? Medical necessity. If a patient is asymptomatic and requesting broad, exhaustive panels, the insurer might classify these as screening without cause or diagnostic rather than preventative, which could mean out of pocket costs or applications to a deductible. Okay? Coding. Doctors must use specific international classification of diseases, ICD codes, to communicate to medical to to communicate a medical reason for testing to the insurer. Okay? So again, make a change. If Carrie Ann was just simply a hypochondriac, okay, the insurance company would not be willing to continue to pay for this type of testing for Carrie Ann just simply because she's afraid that she has these diseases. No, she has to say, "Hey, I got itching. I got some some leakage coming on. I'm feeling flu-like symptoms. I slept with this guy and this girl and that girl, and I don't know what happened, but these are the symptoms that I'm feeling in order for that doctor, unless she's a private pay, right? So if she's privately paying this doctor, then yeah, she can pay for all the testing that she wants to, but she would pay for that up front. That wouldn't be something that they would just bill her for later. She would have to pay that when she comes to the office. Okay? So, according to her, she's in the VA, right? She's at the VA. So TRICARE is paying her insurance. Okay, TRICARE is paying for her medical care. Make a change. Okay, so no, sir, it's not because she's a hypochondriac, and that's the reason why suddenly she's getting all this testing done. She's getting this testing done because she is HIV positive. Okay, and her doctor wanted to make sure that she became undetectable. And so they started her on an HIV regimen. Okay, that is what happened according to the Center for Disease Control. Okay, that is what happened according to HIV.gov. Make a change. Okay, so if you really want to make a change, you should do your research on that and not give her outs and try to help her and all these other things because there's no reason to help her if she's telling the truth. Like, period. You don't need to help her. She don't need an out. She don't need any assistance, right? If she's telling the truth, because this is what Carrie showed us on her medical records, not me, not the handmaidens. That's what she showed. Okay. So anyway, let's move on. You said, I agree, Lorna. You said, oh, thank you. You said, beautiful niece, at this point, it's a choir, okay? I'm just saying. You said she done got so lazy with Bugsy that she brought a dog door so she don't even have to walk him anymore. Which is like, to me, I'm not gonna hold you. I used to live in Atlanta, and I live down in a like a hill like she does. She lives down off the road. A lot of houses down there are like that. I would have never had a doggy door in that house. I would never have had a doggy door in there. The reason is because there's like armadillos and all type of crazy wildlife out there. My neighbor had chickens in their yard. Like, child. As a matter of fact, I got a famous Facebook post from back then that says, "Them chickens better stay over there in their yard, or they're gonna end up on my dinner table." But I would never have put a doggy door on. Like, that is just pure laziness. Okay, especially when you don't do anything. You don't work. You don't. It's not like you're at work all day and you need somebody to come and take your dog outside, right? You are home all fucking day doing nothing, crying about your pussy and crying about my pussy and everybody's pussy and shit. You should be taking. You could at least take the dog for a walk, right? Like, girl. I promise y'all, I would never have a doggy door in a place like that. Not in Atlanta. Not where they got them wild. They got weird wildlife out there. There's some armadillos. They have coyotes are out there. Deer, like, but the coyote shit would really, girl. Imagine a baby coyote running up in your shit. Like, imagine. Oh my god, girl, hell no, fucking no. Hell fucking no, girl. I would never. You said, I've been saying Bugsy's not happy. Yeah, it's sad. It really is. You said when dogs are happy they smile. It's funny because my daughter's dog, my grand dog, right? I call him my grand dog. He actually does have this funny smile, like his teeth are always showing, no matter what he's doing. He's pretty old now, and he's very protective of my granddaughter too. And he's really small. He's not like he's a really big dog or anything. He's very protective of her. But he's constantly smiling. Like constantly smiling. I should dox him. I'm not gonna dox him though. I ain't gonna dox my grand dog either. But he's a very happy dog, you know what I mean? And you can tell the difference in dogs that are happy and dogs that are, that are just sad and obviously, going through it, right? It's clear that dog is not happy. Real shit. Real shit. You said all those medicines shown on TV are not secure and they are not to help you be undetectable. They are to help well, okay, hold let me read that again. You said all those medicines shown on TV are not secure and they are to help you be undetectable. You said Carrie will be live by 1 p.m. Well, she should explain that shit. Like, why did you take that? Okay? Just wow, right? You said, why is all her psychiatric medical history not there, or is that a separate medical history? So these were lab tests that she was showing us, right? She wasn't showing us her drug tests. Not her drug tests. She wasn't showing us her drug panels, right? She didn't show us what the doctors ordered and what drugs she takes, her medications or anything like that. She didn't show us the doctor's notes or anything like that. She just showed us the lab tests, which is wild. And it's like I said, they don't order these specific tests together just for no reason make a change, right? Let me explain that again, right? They're not going to just order these for nothing. They very well will deny these claims if this doctor starts sending over all these codes, especially if they keep doing it. Now the insurance company is going to be like, hold on, why do you keep doing this test? Right? That why? You need to show us medical necessity for why you're doing this. We ain't about to pay this if you can't prove that there's a reason why you're doing this. And I promise you that happens every day. Every fucking day. Every fucking day. They don't give a fuck if the patient is dead, make a change, okay? They don't give a shit about none of that shit, okay? They don't care if the patient died. They don't care about any of that. They are not paying something if there's no reason for them to pay it, period. Imagine the insurance companies just paying doctors for anything and everything that they want to order. Imagine that. That is called fraud, waste, and abuse. Yes. Okay. No, insurance companies don't do that. So, Carrie, please stop lying. Please stop. He said, "Yep, she just said she had her door open, fell asleep, and woke up and found a possum." What? What? Oh my God. That is crazy. She found a possum in her crib. I didn't even know that she said that. That is fucking wild, right? But that's a prime example of some shit like that. Yeah, because they're down there too. The possums are everywhere, but they're definitely down there. And possums can be rabid. They could have rabies and all kinds of shit. They are like, why would you? Oh my god, girl. Mm-mm. Child. I would never have a doggy door down there in Georgia. Never. You said coyotes take small pets on the regular, okay? And do. Like a coyote could come up in her yard at any given time. I remember when I first moved down there, the neighbors had made that clear, right? Because my kids were smaller then, and I would let them go out and run out in the yard. And the neighbor let me know it's cool to run in the yard, but be careful because if you let the kids run around, just watch for deer. Because if you see a bunch of deer running the yard all at one time, you know it's because there's a coyote in the area. And sure enough, I saw that several times. And that's the reason why you can in fact own firearms in Georgia without a license because you got to be able to kill these motherfuckers, right? Like it ain't about the people, it's about the wildlife out there. But if you've been 5150 like Carrie Ann was, right, according to what her medical records showed us when she had to have those tox tests, when Dr. Trevor had ordered those toxicology tests, and then the doctor that was at the psychiatric office or the psychiatric hospital also ordered a series of toxicology tests on her. Y'all remember that video that we did while Carrie is claiming I have all these disease, drugs, and alcohol issues and stuff like that, right? But her own medical records showed that she had to get multiple toxicology tests and all kinds of shit while she was 5150. But once you're 5150, you're not able to just own firearms in the state of Georgia. I mean, that's just what it is. There's a restriction on that. So you should stop telling people, Carrie, that you got all these firearms before they start sending the people to your house. Because everybody knows where you live at. And you also should be careful watching after that dog. Because niggas about to start sending people after that dog, too. It don't make no sense how you acted with that damn dog. But anyway, we about to get out of here. I do appreciate everybody for hey Mind Chaos Guru. I appreciate you, sis, for being in the building. You gotta go back and check out the replay. Because we actually about to get out of here. You said Carrie admitted she was taking lithium, which is an older class of drug used in psychiatric practice. It definitely is, and also, if I'm not mistaken, I got to go back and look at the video. I don't want to quote it wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was ordered to take that testing because of the fact that she was 5150. So she was ordered to take those medications because she was put in the hospital um, because of that fight she had with that guy. Yeah, that she talks about that she was scared that keeping it plain was going to talk about. And turns out he didn't even know about it. Ain't that a bitch? She told us about it. Everybody saying hi to each other. All right, listen, y'all. We are out of here. I do appreciate y'all for being in the building. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button on the way out. But again, Carrie, I do honestly wish you the best with your HIV, right? I don't think that that's funny at all that you have HIV. I don't think that that's cute. I'm not in any way, making any kind of fun of that. I really feel bad for you, quite honestly. Um, I feel pretty fucked up for you, quite honestly. I don't like the fact that this is something that you're experiencing, but you need to take care of yourself, right? Nobody's going to be able to take care of you the way that you can, and you don't owe any of us any type of explanation about how you're doing that or why you're doing it. But what you don't get to do with me is claim that I have these issues and that these things are my life. Okay, you don't have the right to do that. And I'm going to put you on blast when you do that. That's just the bottom motherfucking line. Okay. You said immediate replay. Yes, child. You said, can y'all check out my latest upload, please? Yes, please. Everybody go check out that latest upload from Triggs. And you said it is fire. You said me too, T Prig. All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate all of y'all for being in the building. Y'all hit the like button, and we're out of here, y'all. Peace, guys, and thank y'all again for watching.